aviation news today. We're going to start out talking about some breaking news. The Alaska Horizon Jumpseater.
Wild.
Douglas, take it away.
Yeah, this is how not to act when you're in the cockpit, I guess. The crew of a Horizon Airlines regional jet, it was an Embraer 175, diverted to Portland. They were en route from Everett, and they had a Alaska Airlines pilot, Joseph D. Emerson, was charged with 83 counts of attempted murder and endangering an aircraft. So it's a total of 166 felonies.
Wow.
For messing with the throttles. They said, we've got the guy that tried to shut the engines down out of the cockpit, and he doesn't sound like he's causing any issue in the back right now. I think he's subdued. A pilot told aircraft traffic controllers, according to audio recorded by Live ATC, we want law enforcement as soon as we get on the ground and parked.
We have that audio. We'll play that here in a second.
Later statement, Alaska Air said that unsuccessfully attempted to disrupt the operation of the engines before the captain and first officer responded. Engine power was not lost, and the crew secured the aircraft without incident. Do you guys have a 3-ring binder for that?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Don't let your intrusive thoughts win. All right, so this is the audio from Live ATC, I believe. Let's play and hope for the best.
Horizon Air 2059, when able, if you could let me know the threat level.
That's the right level. Midnight.
0531. Okay, I'll just give you a heads up. We've got the guy that tried to shut the engines down out of the cockpit, and he doesn't sound like he's causing any issue in the back right now. I think he's subdued. Other than that, yeah, we want law enforcement as soon as we get on the ground and park. Horizon Air 2059, Roger. You can contact that point on approach now on 118.1.
Okay. They're going to switch and we're going to lose that. So let's answer some questions from the Twitter because people, like I've already seen the comments and they're like, why is there somebody in the jump seat? So without the jump seat, we'd never get to work. Those of us that commute, we need the jump seat. Jump seat's an important thing. And that's why I hope there's no knee-jerk reaction to this, because this is the first incident since the FedEx flight 705, if you recall, in April of 1994, where 3 crew members in the cockpit, Captain David G. Sanders, who had worked for FedEx for 20 years, was in the Navy, served during the Vietnam War, Jim Tucker, and Andy Peterson, and also there's a flight engineer. Basically, a Callaway who was jump seating tried to attack, and they ended up rolling upside down almost 140 degrees while attempting to maintain visual reference. And then it was a pretty big deal, a fight for survival in this DC-10 cockpit. So that's the first one since then. Doug, does it say, because I've now heard conflicting things. The thing I read was that he tried to pull the fire handles, not just shut the engines down like manually, but actually he wasn't just messing with throttles or ignition. He actually tried to get to the fire handles for the engines because it's a Embraer, I think 175. And that's a bad thing, even more so than just normally shutting the engine down, because TBear, you and I were talking about this before. When you pull a fire handle, it shuts off everything in that engine because you want to stop the burning, right?
Right. It's a one-way door.
Yeah. So
you can't unpull that.
You can. It's when you pop the bottle, whether it'll keep running. But so it sounds like they didn't pop the bottle and the engine never shut down, or at least according to this article. But so for those that don't know what a jump seater is and how this works, pilots, I think feds, Secret Service, there's like a whole list of people that are eligible, dispatchers and stuff, employees are screened and given access to this jump seat system. And with that, you're then able to list for a jump seat, go to the counter and say, hey, I'd like a seat. And usually you try to get a seat in the back because it's more comfortable, but every now and then they put you in the front because the flight's full or whatever. So you are an aviator of some sort or qualified to be there and screened, and they put you in the cockpit and you are there. You're not part of the crew per se, but you are sitting in the flight deck. That's a very standard practice. Pilots do it all the time. That's how a lot of pilots get to work, get home from work, especially if they don't live where they're based. It is not unusual to have somebody in the cockpit with you. It could be a Fed. You never know. So the screening is just like any other pilot. There's nothing unique to it, but it's the same that the person flying your aircraft might have. In fact, I think this pilot, from what I read, was an Alaska Airlines pilot on his way to San Francisco to go begin a trip before he started. So it wasn't like just a rando that was a passenger like, hey, we ran out of space back there. You want to go sit up front with the big boys? No, it's an actual jump seater that's qualified to do that. And that is a system that's been in place for a long time. And luckily we have 2 pilots, and they were able to subdue him, stop him, and get him out of the cockpit. It's funny, Doug, they say how many people were on board?
I don't have that in front of me. But
how many felonies did they charge him with?
They charged him with 83. But my curiosity is, did they charge him for a felony against himself? Like, did they include him in the number of the attempted murder?
I'll pursue that. I was looking for more information about the fuel. I did find something.
I mean, that sounds about right. 175 is.
They said some residual fuel remained in the line, and the quick reaction of our crew to reset the handles restored full fuel flow and prevented fuel starvation.
So they did pull. They did pull the handle. Yeah, he pulled the fire handle. So there you go. Just luckily, TBear, you know more about engines than anybody. How does this work?
How did these work?
Well, I mean, if you push it back in, it should restore everything. But we don't normally do that, because if you have a fire and you pull the fire handle, fire FOD or frozen, you don't restart. So it's not a common event. Yeah. It's very interesting. I wonder if it was an intrusive thoughts thing, like you're sitting there and he, just decided to pull the handle. It's hard for me to believe that was a way that he wanted to end everybody. It's weird. There's a lot of psychosis going on, whether it's some level of intrusive thoughts, some level of, I want everybody to not make it or what. I don't know. Gonky, what do you think, man?
I mean, I think everybody can agree that's pretty insane to do that. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, like, was he trying to get up and adjust his seat, and he accidentally grabbed I don't know. I've never been inside the cockpit of a 175, so I'm not, exactly.
Sure. 80 passengers.
Yeah, so there it is.
2 pilots and 2 flight attendants. So they didn't even charge him with attempted murder on one of the flight attendants or one of the pilots. They're one short.
I don't know.
Or is he one of the 80 passengers?
Yeah, that's probably.
So then that's -1. Or were there? Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I
dude, I don't know. That's pretty insane. I mean, there's a 2-person policy at all times in the cockpit nowadays. They don't let just one person ever in there, probably for reasons a lot like this. But I just can't imagine somebody coming in. I mean, the guy's on the way to work, right? I mean, you'd think if he was on the way home, it's like, man, maybe he's getting fired or something, and he's having a mental breakdown.
Although going to work is where I'm the most sad. Coming home is where I'm the happiest.
Yeah, Mover never has any thoughts on the way to work.
For legal reasons, this is a joke. I was just kidding, guys.
Yellow light.
Yeah, for sure. Gonky, we're 2 for 2 in the last 2 weeks. But I will say this is a pitch for mental health in aviation. I think this is another indicator that we don't take it seriously enough, and there are too many barriers to allow something to get to this point. Now, we obviously don't know the full scope of what happened and the details and stuff, but I do think there's some argument to be made that the knee-jerk reaction to this needs to be, we need to focus more on getting people the help they need so it doesn't get to this point, versus saying, well, we're going to make no cockpit jump seaters, or we're going to start screening and stuff like that. We don't want to do a German wings reaction. We want to see what got him to this point, and how do we help the next person not get to that point while maintaining their career.
I mean, to be honest, he's lucky. I mean, he's lucky he didn't get shot. I mean, they have the FFDO program, and I mean, you guys all know in the cockpit, it's serious business. I mean, due to the past, like we all take that super seriously.
But did he try to get help? Because, I mean, like it or not, the aviation and mental health do not jive very well. People either don't get help or are afraid if they do get help, then something will happen. So is this a situation that could have been avoided by a better understanding of mental health to prevent people from doing crazy, stupid things that almost kill 83 and a half people?
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you think, TBear? I know this is, you're not an airline guy, but you know about people.
Yeah. And obviously something's wrong with the guy. I mean, the first thing I think about, does he have a brain tumor? I mean, this is so far off the level of normal. Or, they're just depressed people. And you're right. Nobody's going to try to get if you're an airline pilot, you're going to be very hesitant to go out and try to get some mental health help. And I'll just point out something. I just got off the phone this afternoon with a friend of mine, got hired by an airline. I don't remember the exact date. I'll make something up. The 6th of September. And on the 7th of September, he received a letter from the FAA revoking his medical. And
really?
Because he's 80% VA disability and 30% of it is PTSD, which he does no meds, no treatment, no nothing. But the FAA went and yanked his medical the day after he got hired by an airline.
And this is what I would hope that cooler heads prevail, and that we do a deep dive, consult the experts, and don't just say, well, now we even need to go harsher on people that have gotten help, and say that anybody that's ever had any kind of issues would now be grounded going forward and won't get their medical. Like, I don't want it to pendulum to swing to the point we're so conservative that, because it's going to get worse. Because what happens when you can't report it? You hide it. And what happens when you hide it? This.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you hide stuff. It boils over, whether it was, like I said, whether it was a one-off deal or he was trying to kill everybody or whatever. We're fortunate that this is all the discussion is right now.
I'd be surprised if, like, after they do the deep dive, I'd be surprised if there wasn't at least some warning signs. I mean, like the German wings thing, right? They dove into that, and there was definitely some signs. Yeah. But I don't know. Can't speculate. Won't speculate. But it's a good thing. There's a happy ending. The guys were able to keep the motors going, land. Nobody got hurt, and hey, amazing. The guy's arrested. But I mean, he's going to get help now.
Well, and good point, Gonky. Kudos to the crew.
Yeah,
because 100%. Dude, what's the two rules about being a pilot or a fighter pilot? Look good, sound good on the radio. Good. They sounded good on the radio. I mean, how cool did that guy say, like, hey, we got this. It's handled. We're going to need to divert.
Yeah.
Probably still need to get paid. Yeah.
it's like, but I'm okay.
With the crash axe that's behind, like, oh boy. I mean,
yeah,
whatever. Sean says Mover would have Krav Maga as an chop, karate him.